Caribbean food is some of the most delicious and complex food on the planet, combining numerous ingredients and styles from around the world, including African, Asian, European, and indigenous cooking traditions. For Rashida Holmes, chef-owner of Bridgetown Roti, Caribbean flavors aren't merely delicious, they're also a nod to her own Barbadian heritage. I visited Bridgetown, which operates out of an Arts District kitchen downtown, and chatted with Rashida and her mom, Joy, about, well, almost everything. We talked about family, Caribbean food and what makes it so special, the state of flux the restaurant industry is in right now, and how Holmes has navigated an industry traditionally dominated by white men to now be running her own successful food business. And of course, we talked about the delicious curry chicken roti that is a staple of Bridgetown's menu.
Tell me about your relationship with your mom and how she affects the work that you do now.
I mean, that's a big question.
Take your time.
I think our relationship has, as with all mother-daughter relationships, has, had its ups and downs over the years. Teenage years were a little rocky, but...
Okay, we'll come back to that because I want to hear about the rebellious phase, but go on.
And both my parents, they've always supported anything I've ever done or tried to do. And in terms of the business and kind of how Bridgetown came around, for my mom, it was the food she made, at the holidays that really kind of inspired the business,
I really love when Rashida talks about growing up because I didn't realize she was paying that much attention to the food.
Were you paying attention when as a little kid?
We always ate well, the food was always really, really good. So it wasn't until, I got a little older that I really started to appreciate everything that they both cooked all the time, because they made sure we had home-cooked meals almost every night of the week. And they were both working parents. So much of my memory was associated with food that as a career choice, it kind of flowed naturally from me in a way that I didn't expect. So Mom used to what was the name of the curry powder you used to use, Mom?
Chief.
That was the curry powder of my youth. I went online and tried to find, because they don't list their ingredients on Chief. Now I make my own. So now the Chief, they broke it up into two. So it's this curry powder, which we make in-house. Some of the ingredients we use fresh, and we use a curry paste. We turn that into a wet rub, which is this. So this has the fresh turmeric, garlic, scallion, habanero peppers, and then so it's a combination of the two gets us to the Chief.
What's going to make a Caribbean curry taste different than some other curries than people might have tried? Like an Indian curry or a Japanese curry?
I would say the allspice is definitely a Caribbean staple. Almost all curries kind of have that allspice, nutmeg, warm spice background.
Allspice and clove are used
Clove, thank you. Thanks,
a
Mom.
lot in Caribbean cooking, especially in poultry. So you might not think about it, but I season my poultry with clove as well as salt and pepper if I'm just stewing something. So that's a standard thing, and even allspice and cinnamon. Let's talk about my relationship to the food was really my retaining my culture. I always looked on it as special foods. My dad would make Sunday dinner and holiday dinner, and so I learned the West Indian food really through my dad. And my husband, his family is from Barbados and Panama, and so on that side of the family, they made the same dishes on holidays and Sunday dinner. Aunt Vi used to have us over all the time, and when before she passed away, I asked her, could I have her recipe? And now I own the recipe. She owns it now. And other cousins are pissed off because I have it and they don't.
But you won't share it.
She has it now.
Okay. So we got the chicken. We got our onions here. This is Mom's staple. You always have to have scallions and onions in your curry chicken. Little oil in the pan.
Oh, I need to get out of your way.
Yeah, you gotta get out of there. Get out of there!
I'm gonna come this way.
You're in the splash zone. Again, I don't want this pan to be too hot because then all the spices will burn.
What are some of your memories, as a child, eating when you were a kid?
I came from a family. My mother died when I was young. My dad was not. He was a police officer, so I was raised by my aunts. So I was raised in a very multi-generational situation, and that's how our culture is in general. So, for example, my dad came over, and then cousins who want to come over, other people, they just come and stay. And so it's not so much that mother, father, and kids kind of a situation. It's aunts, uncles, cousins.
Everyone together.
Together.
I never thought when I started the business that Bridgetown is where I would kind of be at this point, 10, 12 years down the road.
In this industry, she quickly realized for a Black woman to get the recognition and get the move ups, and I saw her working in situations where she was running the entire operation. But then when she would go to the next place and want that executive chef job, or she had moved up to sous and she just found the doors continue to be closed. And I was watching all that, and I said, you can do this.
What were some of the challenges that you faced? Is it something that you felt while you were sort of moving up the ladder?
So I kind of gotten very good at adapting to new spaces and new people, particularly spaces dominated by white males in general, because we were in the suburbs. For me personally, I definitely felt like I had some tools to navigate those spaces kind of well. And, I had been inside kind of a white culture. So I always, there's two types of kind of American culture that you're exposed to as a Black person. You have the Black culture and the white culture. And I always kind of floated down the middle lane of those spaces. I never quite felt comfortable in either one, but I could always make friends in both. Being actually lesbian and being part of the LGBTQ community, there is, that was an advantage as well, because I think straight women have a harder time in kitchens than gay women, because there's this sense of like, we can bond over the objectification of women sort of element involved in that too. And I definitely experienced a little bit of that as well. I didn't try to engage in it, but there was some sort of like safety in like, I don't have to hit on you. It's a lot of different things that you kind of just figure out how to kind of navigate the space into. And
there's also Caribbean West Indian culture, right? I mean, and that's a
like
third.
It's like another circle within a circle within a circle of my own Black experiences. In the Caribbean, when you get a roti, they always give you a couple of choices. They say with bone, chicken with bones, chicken without bones. I always got chicken with bones because that was the dark meat chicken, and I'm all about the dark meat chicken. So for me, I was like, why don't they just pick the chicken and then put it in the roti? So that's what we did. So it's no bones, but it's the good stuff. This is for the roti. So we use locally milled flour for this from Grissentol in Pasadena. So it's a mixture of their hard white, their Sonora, and then a little bit of AP. Kind of softens the whole flavor up.
How do you think we get more women of color in the top positions?
A lot of people are waking up to the fact that America is not this equitable place where anybody can get up on their bootstraps. Like, it never has been. And I think some people are really just realizing that, in the last, I would say year, but it's like 6 to 8 months, frankly. So we're just in the beginning stages of having the conversation, and I find myself in a position where people want to hear what I have to say and are listening to Black people and Black women. And I think if we start there, listening to what we have to say, believing, women when they speak, hearing what they have to say, then the rest will follow from that. So now we get our doughs rolled out. I'm just gonna cut about halfway down, make little Pac-Mans, as I call them. And then we have just some nice, soft, organic butter here. And we're just gonna rub butter across the top.
That's what makes it taste so good.
And then once we get these all shaped, they go in the fridge to chill overnight so the butter sets. Butter dough kind of creates like a laminating effect, and that's how you get like the nice flakiness that you get from your roti.
Pop-ups, which have really been proliferating during this time of COVID, have provided people opportunities and have provided a voice.
I think COVID provided a lot of those people, including myself, with the opportunity to do something that's much smaller, that has less overhead, that didn't need as much seed money to start, to put our names and our faces and our food out there. Pop-ups were are kind of a COVID moment, and I think they can continue to be this really nice way for people to showcase their voice without putting the financial burden on themselves. But it's a lot of work. When you have a small team, that means you're doing more of everything.
How do you see the industry coming out of this on the other side? I mean, are there things you think need to change? Are there things that you think, what do you think has to happen?
I would say before COVID, I was already kind of at a place where I knew when I started this project that it wasn't going to be like a sit-down restaurant, because I didn't think that business model is sustainable. The pay equity thing between front and back of house, we have to fix it. It doesn't make any sense. It's really based on slave culture. If you really go back to it, it's really based on back of house slaves versus front of house slaves and the way that they were treated. And it's like, why are we basing the business model on such an archaic, way of treating people in general? For myself, I always wanted to create a place where we would have equity pay across what you do. Our industry has been a huge part of businesses that don't pay people enough to live. And that has to change. And we have to figure out how to make money within a new system versus fighting it to keep the old.
I mean, how do you get people used to the idea that food should cost money? Because the public has in their mind that, things should cost a certain amount.
Can I say something about that?
Go ahead, Mom.
The thing that, when you say that, it makes me think about those places that charge $40 for some little piece of fish that's this big, right? So why do they get to create value that they can charge way, way more? And the same food served in a different environment, people don't want to pay for it. So that's what I see.
Or if it's a different type of food, some people place inherent value upon French food as opposed to...
Exactly. As opposed to Caribbean food.
As opposed to Caribbean food, as opposed to Chinese food.
When Chinese food
right.
and Caribbean food has, as you can see, a ton of complexity
Absolutely.
in it. There is a cultural devaluation of this kind of food like there is of soul food. But still, people will pay $40 for a little tiny piece of red meat.
I'm interested in just hearing your thoughts about LA. And how long ago did you move here?
So it'll be 8 years in May, or March, no, May. It'll be 8 years in May. So like 7.5 years so far. I love LA. LA is my home. I'll never leave.
There's this grimace over here from the...
You didn't get that, did
There's
you?
a grimace in the
Why
corner.
are you grimacing about LA? It's expensive.
You grew up in New York, why not do it in New York? Or why not do it in Dallas, where you were?
I knew that the city would be open to the kind of food I wanted to do. And I was excited by the fact that there weren't really a lot of West Indian places here, So I knew I could kind of exist in this unique space where I was maybe presenting something that a lot of people hadn't tried before.
For people who might be watching this who are not familiar with Caribbean flavors, West Indian food, what makes it special?
For me, it's the way we use spices. It's the way we use peppers specifically. Every kind of pepper is in every kind of in every dish, from the bell, from the sweetest of sweet to the hottest of hot. It's like peppers flavor so much of the food that we eat. And then it's the spices. It's the influences of the spices. It's the influence of African spices that you get from the heritage of slavery. It's the influence of Indian spices you get from the South Indian immigrants that came over to the islands when they were British colonies. It's the tropical fruits that naturally grow there and how those are kind of integrated into the cuisine. So I think it's like a combination of those things, of the tropical produce and then all these kind of diasporic cultures that have kind of culminated there and brought, their favorite things to eat. And when you put everybody's favorite things to eat in one bowl, it's really good.
Then I was lucky enough to eat one of the curry chicken rotis, which are called Mom's Curry Chicken, on the menu in honor of Joy. If you've never had one before, imagine a perfectly spiced stew of dark meat chicken with crunchy cabbage and tender potatoes wrapped tight in a flaky flatbread. If it sounds good, That's because it is. It really is.
And that's our curry chicken roti, which is for you.
For me,
That's for you, man.
I'm so happy.
That's for you.
It's just, I think it's good to talk about all this stuff, and like you said, things are changing. We don't know exactly how or what things are going to look like in a year or two, but you're obviously a part of the future, and I think LA food is the better for it. So, thank you for being here.
Hey, thanks. That means a lot to me. I just want to be part of it, and I just want people to enjoy what we're doing here, and that's all it is for me. If you enjoy the food, then I've won. Everything else is secondary.
And making sure your mom's happy.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
That's that's the main thing. You can see what she was saying about the textures. And wanting the variety of the textures. Because you have the flaky bread on the outside, you have crunchy slaw, you have crispy fried potatoes, and then you kind of have this more stewy curry chicken onion mix. Combined, it's just really good. Chicken's super good. You can see what Rashida and her mom were saying about allspice and clove, warm spices being really prominent. Thanks for watching Off Menu. And I know this season's been a little weird, but everything's been a little weird, but we're still pumping out the episodes. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/LA Times Food. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Please share the videos. Please like and subscribe and do all that kind of stuff. Thanks. And my hair's really long, and I'm sorry.